Am I here to sell you get rich quick schemes? No. Am I here to explain that side hustles are often one of the biggest struggles in the beginning? Yes. Keeping it everything simple, let's dive into the startup struggle and what that really means for Gen Z and how we go about starting our side hustles. Welcome to the Keeping Everything Simple podcast. I am your host and fellow student, Michael Klukas, and on this show, we boil down complicated topics into simple, actionable tips. And today, we're starting off with the learning curve, which is this new segment that I want to test out where I'm diving into kind of things that I've been curious about, things I've been working on and tried in the past, and what I've learned about them so far and how you guys might be able to benefit from them so you either don't make the same mistakes that I did, or at the very least, you feel a little bit more prepared when you do take your first step into whatever this next project may be. So let's start off with the learning curve. So the question of the day is, how can you start a side hustle if you've never had one before? And this matters because side hustles today are honestly more common than ever. The fact that everyone wants to be able to find some form of financial freedom quicker and sooner. If you didn't watch the last episode, I talked about the FIRE movement, which is financially independent, retire early, trying to make the most amount of money within the least amount of time possible so that way you have the optionality to lead the life that you want and have the career that you want. And so in this 2023 article, there was reported that roughly 40% of Gen Z have a side hustle. Now, I would imagine having almost a year gone by, the number has probably increased a little bit more, where we're trying to find that balance between what a side hustle can do for us and also what a normal 9 to 5 job can do for us. And it is truly a balancing act in the end of it. But this matters because Gen Z specifically wants a more financially sound future. We want to be able to say, hey, we know what's coming. We know what we're going to be able to do because we have not only this one job, but if we lose that, we have this side hustle that is making us some extra money and it's stable and that's going well. And we might even start a third thing because that third thing might be that one differentiating factor between us choosing to leave that first job and start our ventures into the world of entrepreneurship. But again, something I've stressed in my last episode was like entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that is okay. Like it is really okay for it not to be something that you want to do. But again, more often than not, side hustles are more and more common because they are seen as this kind of escape route into what it could be, what it can be for you, and what it can mean for your whole future. Though I will note that we also don't want to all go out and just get a second job, even though that is truly the quickest and easiest way to start making more money is to just get a second part-time job. It's not the answer you probably want to hear. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it is realistic and it is the fact of the matter that if you are trying to increase your income right now, if you're trying to find some way of bringing in extra cash, get a part-time job. Now, I will add a little carve out there and say that it might be the least trouble to do, but it also can be something that you don't want to have to commit extra time to outside of what you're already committing to work, because some people are working 50, 60-hour weeks at some jobs. And that might just be the nature of the trade, or in other instances, it might just be signs of overwork happening. But this matters because as we try to figure out how we're going to get a startup off the ground or get some side hustle off the ground, we have to just understand what our reasoning for it is. And if you're enjoying this episode so far, make sure you like and subscribe to us here on YouTube. That helps me out so much. If you're listening to us on a podcast app of choice, leave us a 5-star rating and give us a follow. So that way you know every time a new episode is posted as it hits your feed. All right, let's dive right back in. So I'm going to call this more so story time and helping you guys try to, again, learn from my mistakes and my experience in this, because side hustles are time consuming in ways that you don't always see at first. So for myself right now, I have the goal, and it is, switching back to my main camera here, on the back of my wall, there is a black poster board filled with multiple little sheets of paper that have the goals I have for the year. And I have the financial goal of making an extra $500 a month. And that is either fun money, money I can put towards other projects, money I can put towards bills, whatever it is. But that is the goal I have by the end of the year, to figure out some way of earning an extra $500 a month. Seems pretty simple, right? And it's more of a test for myself because I'm getting married this year, which is exciting, and I am very much looking forward to it. But that also means finances will be combined, and I want to be able to really help provide for my future wife and for our future small family. And this means I also want to grow something on my own. I've always wanted to grow something on my own that would allow me to be able to have the freedom to up and go and do something unique and to create something that will both be a lot of fun and be extremely inspiring and fulfilling for myself, while at the same time having the extra benefit of bringing in consistent cash flow and consistent income. And I've been interested in side hustles since I was a freshman in high school. Now, what was actually successful, that is up for debate. But I did things like I had originally wanted to start using white labeled products from Alibaba as a 13-year-old and put them under the KES brand even back then, to say, all right, cool, I can get this product, I can order it in bulk, I can make a custom logo, I can get it sold around my high school, maybe I can sell it to some other high schools in my school district because I want to just find some way of making extra money. And then of course I find oh, this is gonna cost quite a bit to get the product first when I have no money to start with. Maybe not this one. But then it is continuing to try these little events where I was part of DECA, which is a business marketing club for high schools and colleges. And while I was in that club, and when I eventually took over the club as president for it, I'm trying to run charity events. How can I get involved with the community? How can I put together something that will raise money for this cause that I want to donate to? Or this one that failed multiple times, which was, how can I get this race put together? Because I was also a cross-country athlete. How can I get this race hosted by the school, get people signed up, get people put together for it, and be able to make money for the team, for the club, so that way we have some extra funds. And for myself to have that experience of putting together an event. And like I said, that failed multiple times, where I tried and I would only ever get one or two people to sign up, and they were generally my teammates from cross country who wanted to support me, and that was fantastic on them, but I also did not make very much progress in that. Other thing would be, I would try things like a Halloween costume contest, where it was going to be, you're going to have some prizes in there. You're going to get to come to school in your costume, and then during the lunch hour, have this Halloween costume contest and see who was going to get the most votes, who's going to get the most cheers. And I thought it was going to be awesome. And no one signed up. As you can see, there was a trend emerging here. And so the next thing that I would try to do is, I ran photo booths for the business club DECA, where it was set up in the little student store that we had. I had backdrops of holiday themed paper rolls and wallpaper, and then people would get to come in, they get to have props, they would pay to have their photo taken, and then I get those printed and sent to them, or even just digitally sent to them, so that way they would have access to their photos right away. And 3 people signed up for it. One person was even just another club member at the time, and it's just showing that I was trying to start these things and learning so much, because I was failing at so many of them. Every single one of the ones that I tried to do just did not work. Or the little success that I had was because 1 or 2 people knew me and wanted to help me out. And now in my life today, it's trying to do things like this podcast, trying to do things like writing articles, trying to get my skill set to be marketable, where I'm able to actively provide consistent great value for people who want to learn about their careers, learn about their lives, learn about how to lead into their young adulthood or really lean into it and know that they're making the best decisions possible for themselves by keeping everything simple. And this is me trying to do that. It's trying to break into the speaking circuit, even if it's just locally, trying to get more speaking gigs. And now I have the current hobby that I'm trying to avoid turning into like a full-blown side hustle where I'm building and selling computers online. So like if you heard of Jawa.gg, I have a site on there called Simplified PCs, and I'm just selling gaming computers because I find them to be fascinating, and it's super fun to tinker with the hardware and play around with how can I get the most bang for buck out of these deals that I'm hunting for and the components I'm finding. And it's putting in all this effort up front because I want this to work, and I want this to be at least something that, again, is a hobby first and foremost, but still can provide some financial incentive for me. And it's not easy. I will say that even my most successful ventures had required so much work up front. So one of the things that worked really well when I was in university was I had started a spray painting business. So if you'd seen any of the spray paint artists from like Las Vegas or tourist areas, you would generally see like these galaxies and these cities and these landscapes that people were painting with just a couple pieces of paper and a couple spray cans. I learned how to do that because I thought it was interesting, and I took that, and for a couple years I ran with it. I had my own Etsy store, I was doing farmers markets, I was selling and creating stickers, I was making full-blown custom pieces, and that was one of my most successful ones. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, I wasn't raking in the money, but instead I was learning what it was going to take for me to make this sustainable, what it was going to take for me to really maintain that small side hustle, because it was my own first small business that actually made money. And ultimately, it did work, but I haven't kept up with it because even if I leveled up how I was able to run that business, even if I was able to gain more and more knowledge from what failed in the past, it was still something that took a lot of work in the beginning. And it wasn't something that I was able to necessarily automate right away. I learned about print on demand, and that's something that I'm playing with now. But it wasn't something that at the time I had thought, oh, this is what I want to make my entire life out to be. It was more of this is something that is a lot of fun. And in my free time, I want to be able to enjoy this. I want to be able to do this while I am trying to find a normal job, or while I am trying to just add a little extra to my piggy bank for the week. And ultimately, that trend of stopping something when I see that, okay, it's not going to go the way I want it to, and it's also not going to give me the results that I ultimately am looking for, and that's okay. Because I'm learning from it and saying, this is not something that I actually just have to full out abandon. It's something I can come back to. And even today, I'm still looking at coming back to it, but at a much different angle, because it's then thinking of like, I've made all these designs, they are handmade by me, let me now scan them, let me make digital products out of them, let me make them into stickers that can be printed on demand for people. And it's just this whole host of trying to be smarter about the work that I want to do. And this is why I want to emphasize that so much work goes into the beginning of the startup itself, the beginning of the work that you want to have be your main hustle. And what that means, especially for today, is that for most people, when we are pursuing a side hustle, it's because we have the hope and the dream of it one day becoming our main hustle that allows us to leave a 9-to-5. But that's not the case for everybody. Some people just want, again, that extra little bit of money, that extra little bit of leeway in their budget, because then that gives them that peace of mind that they can go splurge a little bit extra when they go eat out. They can go take that trip they've been meaning to do because they saved up enough with it for or from their side hustle. And this isn't me saying that you shouldn't do this. It's me saying that you have to tamper your expectations, because your first couple of attempts probably won't work out the way that you think they will. You might learn something new, they might go completely under, and you might end up in the red, which essentially is you spent more than you actually made. There is this awesome YouTuber named Jensen Tung who he will go through on YouTube and he will show you some startups and side hustles that people can easily do, but he's very realistic about what the outcome is. Like he showed print on demand and AI generated art and what that really comes out to make and how much money he actually loses in the first couple of attempts there. And knowing that it is trying to be like this long haul game. If you're trying to get a side hustle up and going, commit to it for the long term. And long term can mean something different for everybody, but you have to commit to it for a certain period of time. Whether that is 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you are consistently dedicating about an hour a day, trying to just tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit better, so that way you know with confidence that you have made something that is actively going to generate some source of income while still actually being fun. Because ultimately, a lot of work will go into maintain the side hustle. If you are trying to just keep it as a passion project that's on the side, then that is perfectly okay and you can optimize for that. If you're trying to make it into your main hustle, then that is also equally okay and you just have to know what you're getting yourself into. And that has been my biggest learning curve in pursuing these side hustles is that one, it's probably going to take longer than you think. Two, it's okay to abandon some of the projects as long as you are taking lessons away from them. And three, this is a long haul play where you have to commit to it for a certain period of time. Where the great example right now is as I'm working at selling computers, again, Jawa.gg, simplified PCs. I'm trying to find out. That was a very shameless self-promotion there. Wow, I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not. Trying to find some way of just growing that to add in just an extra layer of cushioning, because this is taking skills I've learned from doing farmers markets, taking skills that I've learned from working on Etsy, taking skills I've learned from making my own art, and now transitioning that skill sets or those skill sets into making computers, taking great photos and getting them listed for sale and understanding what that's going to take for it to be successful, even in the smaller scale of success. So in the end, if you are considering starting a side hustle, this is my encouragement to you. It can be a lot of fun. You're going to learn a whole lot. And the upside is only limited by what you know now. You're going to continue to grow, but just understand that it's going to take some time. It's going to take some startup capital, most likely. And you have to be ready to weather the little bit of the ups and downs in the beginning and a lot more of the ups and downs in the future. Can be a fun way of earning a little bit of extra money, putting some extra money in your pocket every single month, but you just have to know what to stick with and when to move to something new. But with that, happy learning, everybody. Let me know down in the comments below if you like the learning curve and what this format could potentially turn into. I'm going to play around with this one for a couple of episodes here, but with that, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Make sure that you do turn on that notification bell so you know every time I upload a new episode of the podcast. It helps me out so much. If you're listening to us on a podcast app of choice, leave us a 5-star rating and don't forget to give us a follow so that way you know whenever I post a new episode as it hits your main feed. But have an amazing day, you amazing people, keeping everything simple. I will see you all in the next episode. Go out there and do great things.